Welcome back to the show. We often talk about finding the perfect trade, that holy grail indicator, or the strategy that's going to make you rich overnight. But today, we're going to talk about the one thing that truly separates a long-term professional from a short-term gambler. It's not luck, it's not greed, and it's certainly not a magic indicator. It's risk management, specifically the science of position sizing. I'm your host, Alex, and joining me today is financial strategist David Chen. David, thanks for coming on.
Alex, it's great to be here. I think this topic is the most important and yet the most overlooked part of trading. Traders spend 90% of their time on entry strategy and 10% on survival strategy. We need to flip that ratio.
That's a powerful point. Let's set the context. Why does position sizing matter so much in a market like Forex, where we have huge leverage available?
Well, I often use the captain and the galleon metaphor. Imagine you're the captain of a 17th century galleon. You have a huge fortune in gold, you know your destination, but before you set sail, would you load all your gold onto that single ship? You wouldn't, because you're exposed to hurricanes, pirates, and unforeseen storms. You fractionate the risk. The leverage in Forex is like having the option to load 100 times more cargo than your ship can safely hold. Novice traders, driven by greed, overload the boat, and the first market squall, the first unexpected losing streak, sinks them.
That makes perfect sense. They failed not because their analysis was wrong, but because their exposure was wrong.
Exactly. The biggest mistake is the inability to define how much to invest relative to the account size. And that brings us to the foundation of professional trading, the 1-2% rule.
The golden rule and the statistical buffer. The 1-2% rule is the golden standard, but I think many new traders treat it as an arbitrary suggestion. Can you explain why this specific number is so powerful?
It's all about the math of survival, Alex. If you risk only 2% of your total capital on a single trade, you would need to suffer 50 consecutive losing trades to completely wipe out your account. 50 in a row. That scenario is statistically almost impossible if you have even a half-decent strategy.
Right. It's not about avoiding losses. It's about making sure any loss is just a small splinter, not an axe cutting down the entire tree.
Precisely. It gives you a statistical buffer. It allows you to weather those inevitable losing streaks that all traders, even the legends like George Soros, experience. If your risk is controlled, those streaks become temporary setbacks, not terminal events.
So let's make this tangible. I have a $15,000 trading account. I decide to be prudent and stick to a 1.5% risk per trade. How do I translate that into a dollar amount?
That's step one. You must convert that percentage into a concrete monetary figure before you even look at the price chart. Monetary risk, R, equals total capital times risk percentage.
In your case, $15,000 times 0.015 equals 225 USD. That 225 is your absolute maximum loss. You need to engrave that number into your memory. Not a penny more. This is the authority you impose on your own money. I like that. Authority. So that 225 is the foundation. Now, how do we use that to find out how many lots I can buy? Because that's the number the broker needs.
That takes us to the next two critical variables. Think of the whole process like buying a house.
Okay, I'm listening.
The price of the house is your entry price. The stop loss, your emergency exit, is your fire insurance. And the cash you actually put up as a down payment, that's your position size. You'd never risk 100% of your savings on a down payment, would you?
Absolutely not.
Good. In trading, step 2 requires 2 inputs. Stop loss in pips, SLP, this distance should be based on technical analysis, like a key support or resistance level, not a random number. Let's say your technical analysis puts your stop loss 50 pips away.
Pip cost per lot. For most major pairs like Euro USD, one standard lot has a value of about $10 per pip.
So you have the maximum dollar risk, $225, and the maximum distance we can allow, 50 pips, times $10 per lot. Now, the final formula.
The master formula connects these three. It tells you the exact volume, the number of lots, to open so that if you hit that 50 pip stop, you lose exactly $225. Position size in lots equals monetary risk, R, divided by stop loss in pips, SLP, times pip cost per lot.
Plugging in your numbers, lots equals $225 divided by 50 pips times $10 equals $225 divided by $500 equals 0.45 standard lots.
Wow, that's incredibly clear. So for that specific trade, I must enter a position of 0.45 lots. If I enter 0.5 standard or 1 standard lot, I'm violating my own rule and risking more than 1.5%.
You got it. And this is where the mentality shifts. Fund managers don't ask, how much can we win? They ask, how much are we willing to lose in order to win? When you shift your focus from profit potential to loss control, you are no longer a gambler. You're running a sustainable business.
Psychology and practical adjustment. That psychological shift is crucial. We know fear and greed are the two primary enemies. What's the most common psychological error you see traders make even after calculating their lot size correctly?
Moving the stop loss. They get nervous when the price approaches their insurance policy and they widen it, hoping for a turnaround.
Chasing the loss.
Precisely. That one impulsive move instantly voids your entire calculated plan. You move from being a professional to an impulsive gambler in seconds. The trust in your system comes from honoring the stop loss you set based on analysis, not based on emotion.
That's tough love, but necessary. Let's talk about the practical application for smaller accounts. The concept of lots, standard, mini, micro, can be confusing.
Think of them as gears in a car. My former student, who was an engineer, once said, the micro lot is first gear, the standard lot is fifth gear. Only a suicidal driver starts in fifth.
That's a great analogy.
Micro lots, 1,000 units, $0.10 per pip, allow new traders to use this formula with tiny amounts of capital, ensuring they can stick to that 1% risk rule. Trading 0.05 standard lots is just 5 micro lots, which is perfect for beginners. That is the first tangible sign of building experience.
What about dynamic market conditions? The formula seems static, but the market is always changing.
This is where true expertise comes in. Position size is a dynamic variable that adjusts based on 2 factors, volatility and correlation.
How does volatility affect my lot size?
Higher volatility, say during an FOMC meeting or a major news release, forces you to use a wider stop loss to avoid being knocked out by market noise. Remember the formula. If your monetary risk, the $225, is fixed, and your stop loss in pips, SLP, gets bigger, say 80 pips instead of 50 pips, the formula automatically forces you to reduce the position size. When the waters are choppy, your exposure must decrease. That's the VIX index principle in action.
And correlation. I often see traders open a long Euro USD position and a long GBP USD position at the same time.
That's a destructive error because those pairs are highly positively correlated. You're essentially risking double the capital on the underlying movement of the dollar. If the USD suddenly strengthens, both trades will lose simultaneously. Professional traders limit the total aggregated risk of the account to a maximum of 5 to 6% at any given time. If you have a 2% risk open on Euro USD, any new correlated trade must have a much smaller risk attached.
Actionable takeaways and conclusion. This has been incredibly insightful, David. Before we wrap up, what's the roadmap for a new trader to implement this?
3 simple steps. Start with a trading journal. Document the entry, the stop loss in pips, and the precise position size calculation for every single trade. This builds trust in your process. Focus on consistency. Don't chase the home run. 100 low-risk, moderate-reward operations create a sustainable business. A high-risk gamble is just an anecdote. Use the tools. Do not calculate this manually. Use automated position calculators provided by brokers or websites. Input your account balance, risk percentage, and stop loss in pips, and let the tool give you the exact lot size. That's the definition of expertise today, prioritizing speed and precision over manual labor.
So the final summary is this. Risk is fixed, 1 to 2%. The stop loss is dynamic, based on technical analysis and volatility, and the position size is the only element that adapts to reconcile the two.
Couldn't have said it better myself. The ultimate question you ask yourself as you enter a trade shifts from how much do I win if I'm right to how many lots must I open so that if I am wrong, my loss does not exceed 2% of my capital. That shift is the mastery financial markets reward.
David, thank you for sharing your expertise. This isn't just theory. It's the practical, mathematical basis for surviving long enough to succeed.
My pleasure, Alex. Happy trading, everyone.